Hey guys, welcome back to Dynasty in 30, a Fantasy Now Plus show brought to you courtesy of Finns Talk Sports Network. It's found on FTSN Extra. I'm Willie Ryan, the fantasy football philosopher. If you haven't yet, make sure that you check out the schedule and check out our other live shows throughout the week. On Monday, we've got Cold Brews and Hot Takes with Josh. Tuesday has Fantasy Recap with both Josh and Justin. Wednesday, we'll have our Fantasy Rankings review with Topher and Michael. And on Friday, Fantasy Studs and Suds with Jeff and Pudge. You can find all this content and all of our articles and rankings on the website at fantasynowplus.com. Today, we'll be talking about the most polarizing players in Dynasty drafts and also talking through our tier breaks at the skill positions. Sit tight. We'll be right back with Dynasty in 30.
You're watching Dynasty in 30, only on Fantasy Now Plus.
Hey, Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great as well. So I know today we're probably going to disagree a little bit because we are talking some pretty polarizing players. Just want to let you know, this is nothing personal, my man. I'm just playing. You know, it's all business here.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So I guess I've got three players in particular that I want to go through, or I should say situations. Rashee Rice, Quinshon Judkins, and the A-Rich, Danny Dimes competition going on. Anyone else you want to throw in there before we get started?
Shoot. Let's do the Travis Hunter thing.
Okay. I like that. That one is actually, let's start there because that one, I think that'll be towards the top of drafts here. So, yeah. Especially rookie drafts. What's your take on it? How do you see Travis Hunter working out?
For me, it's really just about trying to get rid of the noise about the defensive side of the ball. Whether he plays that or not, like, that's great. That's cool. He's kind of one of one if he is able to do it on both sides, but I just don't think it's going to have as big of an impact on fantasy as maybe the market might. He's been doing this for years, like since high school, but even through college, like he's been playing upwards of 60-70% of the snaps on both sides of the ball every single day. I don't see why that would change all that much, at least to start his career. Like, obviously, he's getting into the back half of his 20s, 30s. He'll probably pick a position and stick with it. But to start out with, I think he will legitimately just be a two-way player. Like, and I think that he is a good enough wide receiver that you should be buying him at almost any cost right now. He hasn't proven it on the field yet, but everything out of camp says that he's pretty much on the level of BTJ already. They look very similar in camp. They've pretty much indistinguishable in how they run their routes. He was taken second overall in the draft for a reason, and they're not going to sell as much as they sold to move up to draft someone to be a novelty. Like, he's there because of his talent. He's there because he absolutely can be that level of player on both sides of the ball. And so to me, I think he's just a free money. Like, I see him drop, in rookie drafts, he goes 105, 106, 107, sometimes even past that in certain like tight end premiums. He was my 102. He's still my 102. I take him anytime he was there, anywhere in those drafts. And if it bites me, it bites me. But I like to gamble on players that are that talented. and he seems to be that level of talent. And if you don't take him, you're going to pay through the nose if he hits. He will be Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb levels of good.
Yeah, I definitely see the upside case you're talking about there. I mean, my biggest thing for Travis Hunter was look at the season he had at Colorado. And everyone can say, oh, it's college football. He's playing against kids. Yeah, I don't care. Throw that out the window. He was practicing with the defense at Colorado.
Yeah.
Like he did that without a full playbook. I mean, they had a package designed for him that was limited compared to the rest of the offense, and he still put up a great season on offense. I mean, just add in the fact that you've always got the random shot at a pick six. I mean, who knows with how good he is? You might see him back on punt returns a little bit. I would not be surprised over the next couple of years to see him take at least one or two, whether that's situational or whether they have some struggles there that he has to step in to help hold it down.
Yep.
You know, we'll see. But he is just one of those players that is so versatile that you really can put him almost anywhere where you don't need someone with size. Because I mean, that's the one drawback he has is he's not a huge guy. But again, to play wide receiver, to play cornerback, you don't need that. Like he is a great route runner. He knows how to play the wide receiver position, even though he's been practicing, you know, split time, if that.
Yeah.
Like he's one of those, as you said, one of one. I'm really excited to see him. I think he's probably going to be one of the most exciting players to see this year, especially out of the rookies. You know, I think all the rookies kind of get hyped up before the season, but I think he's just one of the most explosive ones. I think the running backs are going to be more steady. Like I think you're going to see, you know, a lot of the 3-4 yard gains, and when everyone's expecting it to be, oh, break a long touchdown every run. I think Travis Hunter is one of those guys, though, that like every time he touches the ball, it's going to be a little bit electric. So I don't know how much he's going to touch the ball his rookie year. I mean, I do think he's worth those draft picks that you were mentioning. I did have him anywhere in the 102, 103, depending on, you know, which day of the week it was and how I was feeling about Omarion Hampton based on, you know, Najee Harris's eye, trying to project a little bit of workload there. But yeah, he is absolutely one of the most talented players in this class. He's going to show it this year. Yeah, get him now before it gets even more expensive. So that's one. We've got 3 more to go here. So let's kind of just go down in ADP order. So we've got Rashee Rice now for the rest of them leading the way. What's your take on Rashee? What are you doing with him? You know, what are your concerns and do you care?
I don't care that much. I mean, redraft, obviously, that sucks. It could be up to 6 game suspension. That's like 40% of your season. Long-term in Dynasty, I don't see a world where the Chiefs just like replace him. This is not the Kareem Hunt situation. This is not like the Ray Rice situation. I mean, frankly, running backs are more replaceable just as a position. Like wide receivers that are good are just good, and Rice is just good. Like last week, you know, I said that Xavier Worthy might overtake him, but even if he does, like you're still talking about a target magnet for Patrick Mahomes for the rest of his rookie contract and probably beyond that. Like if you can get any discount on him in a startup or as a contender trying to maybe get him for your first this year, like I would do that so fast. He's worth more than that. And I really just, I think, you know, again, if you don't like to roster players that you deem are bad people, that's fine. Like that's your prerogative. You can do that. I respect that. If you're playing Dynasty more of like a value game or an asset game or this is a way to generate income for yourself. I think you need to buy the dip on Rashee while it's there. I wouldn't do it yet. I would do it first couple weeks of the season. He's suspended. That manager is sweating. This guy's on his bench. It's not even in the IR spot for most leagues. They need points. Send them someone, a couple tiers down, package with your first or your second if you're a contender. See if you can get Rice off of them. Make your team stronger. I don't think rebuilders have any reason to touch Rice at this point. But at the same time, there is something valuable to be said of, I'm going to get a high value asset and he's not going to score points for 6 weeks. So, maybe I'll walk back on that one. Maybe see if you have other firsts that are a contenders on a rebuilder, see if you can offer that for Rice. Not your first. The whole point is to suck. So you kind of want that, but see what you can get. If you can get him at a depressed price, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I'm coming around on Rice. I'm not going to lie. I have gone up and down all offseason. The suspension kind of came out of nowhere in the offseason. I don't think anyone expected it to actually come down this year.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden his case got settled. So he's, now subject to the disciplinary policy. Again, we still don't know what that's going to be. I am seeing some reports that people are expecting it to be more on the 2 to 4 side. So if you want to play that game and say, try and scare people into thinking it's 6, while we're getting some reporting that's a little shorter, you might be able to get a little bit of value there. Honestly, I don't think I care so much about the suspension. The only part of the suspension that I care about is that it does give the other players on the Chiefs roster a chance to take a larger role in the offense. That said, we're really only talking about Xavier Worthy, who, last year, once Rice went down, took a little while to get in, but then had a really strong close to the season, especially if you include the playoffs. If it is 4 games, does Worthy get off to a hot start and then it gets to the point where he becomes the featured guy and Rice kind of, even though he's back and healthy, does he become a little bit of like that second thought instead of, he was a target magnet, like you said, at the first 4 weeks last year. I don't view Rice as a high-end separator downfield. So I'm a little bit wary about that. I don't know that he's a supreme talent across the board. What he does is he is elite in the short area on his targets and run after catch. And that's where he's been making his money. And frankly, it's a lot easier to replace someone that has one singular elite trait than, that obviously the best of the best. And you get these guys like Jamar Jefferson or Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Let's just mold him into one, put him into one spot, get all of the scoring.
Yeah.
I think he could be replaceable if they wanted to. I don't think they want to, but that's my concern there. I will say I do have to talk about the injury a little bit because I have a little bit of a mea culpa. If anybody has seen me on Reddit, I did go back and forth a little bit with someone this week. I had seen some physical therapists who were posting about this that actually were concerned about the return from injury, not so much from the LCL perspective. He would be fully healed from the injury itself. But because there was also a hamstring repair in there, they were concerned about how it would hold up long-term throughout the season. Kind of like there were some concerns last year with J.K. Dobbins coming back when he came back and just exploded that first game back. His value skyrocketed right there. I think he actually ended up holding up okay, but there was a lot of concern in the medical community that coming back from the injury that he he could do it once in a while, but the extended beatings that he was going to take week in, week out would really play a factor, and he wouldn't be able to kind of sustain that high level production. I'm seeing some concern there as well, but at the same time, I have then also seen PT saying, we understand this, like, maybe look at him as 90% explosive as what he used to be, but he looks good right now.
Yeah.
He is battling a little bit of a groin. I'm hearing that's really minor, so I have no concerns about that, especially with a suspension coming.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to be at whatever health percentage he can be, whether that's 100%, whether that's 90%. He will be there when he gets on the field. So I'm not as worried about the injury as I was earlier in the off season, as I'm hearing, medical professionals get a little bit more bullish on him. I tend to defer to those types on injury analysis just because I'm not a doctor. So I'm going to trust what they say. They go to school for it for all those years. That's one of those things that, like, if you see a consensus there about people who have those degrees, they're probably going to be right.
Yeah.
So that's Rashee Rice. Let's move to the running back position. I know, and actually we've got a question about a running back here.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, should I drop Trevor Etienne for another younger player that has been more productive in the preseason, or be patient and hold him? What do you think, Tim? What would you be doing?
I think it really depends on the player. Because there are some players who are making noise in camp and it's going to result in nothing. And there are some players who are making noise in camp and preseason, and they might get opportunity out of it. And then you've got an ascending asset that you can either keep or flip. Someone like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I would drop Etienne in a heartbeat for. I think he has a legitimate shot to have playing time this year. A potential job even. Someone like Torrey Horton, I would drop for them. But like someone like Keandre Lambert-Smith, I like him. The Keenan Allen signing really sucks for him. They're not going to pay.
Didn't you hear? They need a left tackle now.
Yeah,
Keenan's just going to slide into that role.
Yeah, we love fat Keenan. That was last year, though, to be fair. We haven't seen him in camp yet. But I mean, they're not going to pay $8 million for Keenan to be like a mentor on the bench. Like, he's going to play. He's pretty much like nerfs QJ for fantasy. He somewhat nerfs Harris for fantasy. Like, KLS is now probably at best the fifth wide receiver. I wouldn't drop Etienne for him. So yeah, it's kind of like a case by case basis of do you think there's opportunity that's better for the player you're picking up? Because I do think Etienne does have some playtime opportunity. I have never believed in Rico Dowdle. He's like 28 years old and just finally was productive last year for the Cowboys. I don't think he's particularly that good. I also don't know if Etienne is particularly that good. I think he was kind of overdrafted capital-wise based on what his skill set was in college, but pass catching is valuable in fantasy, especially the more PPR you get. So if it turns out that Hubbard becomes an early down grinder and it's someone else coming in for third down, it's probably going to be Dowdle, but it's not guaranteed to be Dowdle. It could absolutely be Etienne, especially the later you get into the season. So yeah, I think it definitely depends on the player.
Yeah, good call. I mean, I think every league is going to be a little bit different. Totally agree there. But like you said, think about the people that are getting hype and do they actually have a role coming? Because that should really be the deciding factor.
Yep.
If they don't have a clear opportunity, maybe you just hold what you've got. The other option is, you're talking about Keandre Lambert-Smith. Maybe you do drop him, pick up Keandre Lambert-Smith, turn around and trade him for, a fourth round pick. Maybe you can get something like that. and then you just turn around and pick ETN back up.
Yep.
So just picking up a free draft pick off of waivers. That's also something you can kind of do to kind of manipulate the news a little bit. Because we see this play out every year, like you said. Some people get hyped, amounts to nothing. Some people get hyped, turn into the starter by the end of the year. So I think it all boils down to opportunity. So hopefully that helps, B-Dog. But let's move on to Quinshon Judkins. And I really don't like this topic. It gets a little bit dark. I'm not a fan of seeing athletes in these situations. That said, we're fantasy analysts, so our job is to, figure out how this is going to impact fantasy. So the big news here is actually that his attorney waived his right to a speedy trial. What that's going to do is actually extend his legal process out. And the NFL really doesn't tend to take action until the legal process plays out. We've got everybody is innocent until proven guilty. I think the only exceptions to that is when there's, some really bad PR coming for the NFL. We've seen them step in with the commissioner's exempt list. I don't foresee that happening in this situation. I think it seems at this point that it was an isolated enough scenario that they'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
The bigger thing to me is that he still hasn't signed his contract. He has been focusing on his legal defense, which can't blame him for that. I will say I'm pivoting away from him a little bit on my contending teams, just because I don't know when he's going to get in to actually contribute. He was a rookie that I would have been drafting before this news came out, with the expectation that he would be able to help me late in the year. He still may, but we're not going to get any of the RB2 production that you might expect from a rookie taken that high. In the meantime, I think you can look and get Jerome Ford pretty cheaply still. I think people still don't believe that he's going to be the starter, even though he sat out preseason week 1 and got the starter treatment. So keep an eye on that. He is the de facto starter. I'm sorry to all the Dylan Sampson stands. The kid's talented, but he's behind Ford right now. So that's just the way it is in my eyes. What are you thinking about Quinshon Judkins? How are you handling it?
Dynasty's not this or that. There's very much a gradient that you have to operate in. But to me, I am only interested in Judkins if I'm in one of two positions. I am a full-on rebuilder, or I am a full-on contender. If I am anywhere in the middle, I do not want to draft him in startups. I do not want to draft him in rookie drafts. I don't want to trade for him. I'm actively trying to trade him. There's a non-0% chance he never plays a snap in the NFL. It's looking slightly better now that he's delayed legal proceedings, but there's 4 weeks left, not even 4 weeks left. He is not under contract. He has not played a snap of camp. He's not going to play almost at all this year, I don't think. Unless he's truly special and just doesn't need preseason or camp to be good. I just don't think he plays. I think it's going to be Ford. I think it's going to be Sampson. Maybe by the end of the year, he's worked his way into some type of rotation with them, but this is not who you spent your 105, your 106, your 107 on a couple months ago. And I think it's time to bail now if you're not in heavy contention or heavy rebuild. If you're in a heavy rebuild, this is an opportunity Seems like I'm back. Alrighty. Looks like Will's internet is having a conniption. So I will keep on talking and we'll go from here. But yeah, like if you're a rebuilder, I would just see what you can get him for. Offer, if you have multiple seconds, offer someone else a second for him straight up and see if the manager will just move off of him. Will he rise in value? That's kind of unknown, but that's, as a rebuilder, that's what you're looking for, is you're looking for low cost guys that you can take. Think you're back.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. My internet is going up and down the way that Quinshon Judkins' value has been. So,
yep. But yeah, like rebuilder, send out a flyer, someone else's second, maybe even a couple thirds. See if the manager is desperate. You know, if you have like a crusty vet that you've been trying to offload, package them with it. Will it be accepted? Probably not, but it's the time to kind of take a guess.
Let me ask you, Tim, have you seen any trades go down with Quinshon Judkins in your leagues?
Unfortunately, no, because I have him in a lot of places.
Oh, no.
I had
hopefully not in the middle in those.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, because I was in the weirdest, like last year, I basically finished at like the 106, 107 in like 75% of my leagues. It was a very strange season, pretty much because I just didn't have Saquon anywhere, but I had a good team besides Saquon. So like, you know, it usually was just is Trevion Henderson there? Is Hunter there? Yes, no. Oh, look, it's the last of the tier. It's Judkins. So
sure.
But I'm trying to sell him. Any second round pick I can get, I'm probably taking. Unless I know it's like the best team in the league second, then I might ask for more. But I'm not
check the staff league and see if you've got him there.
I don't think so. I did not go running back heavy there.
I would say I like you said, I would absolutely send a second there.
Yeah.
But okay, so we've covered Hunter, Rashee Rice. We've handled Quinshon Judkins here. I want to talk about one situation that I don't know what your take's going to be here. How are you handling Richardson versus Jones in the QB battle for the Colts? Like, is this something that matters? Are you taking stabs at them? And if so, at what cost? Like, what's your take?
First thing I'll say, neither of them matter in one quarterback leagues at all. In a different time, maybe A-Rich would have mattered, but as things stand today, if he starts all year, he's still just a streaming option at best. In Superflex or 2 quarterback or anything above that, I don't think Daniel Jones is good at football. I think that's pretty obvious. The Giants have literally never been good with him outside of 1 year where their defense was amazing. And even then they got absolutely blasted out of the playoffs. He's not good. He is competing with Anthony Richardson and not winning. So that should kind of tell you everything you need to know about Daniel Jones. Whether that means Anthony Richardson has improved or not is kind of hard to tell. People are going to make something out of the sack yesterday. That was, to me, that was just blown protection by the running back. He expected that guy to not smack him in the face, and he did immediately. So, you know, that happens regardless of how good or bad you are at quarterback. But in Superflex, he's still the freakiest athlete we've ever seen at the position. I think Cam Newton is literally the only person in that conversation, and like maybe Josh Allen. Like, this guy can throw 90 yards downfield flat-footed. Like, he runs mid 4.5s or faster. He's 240 pounds. Like, this guy is legitimately almost the size of LeBron James. Like,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if we had like Jamarcus Russell riding a Segway around, I feel like that could get there.
Pretty much. And like, physical traits don't mean everything for quarterback. They mean less for quarterback than pretty much any other position. But fantasy points are scored with touchdowns and rushing and big plays. And that's pretty much Anthony Richardson's only things he can do, at least so far that we've proven. So again, second round picks, dusty vets. I will gladly pick him up as my QB3, my QB4. Don't expect him to start, but if he has taken a step somehow, or even if he just puts it together mid-season, you have a top 2 round dynasty startup asset all of a sudden for cheap. So it's worth taking the shot.
Yeah, I think the way I'm handling it right now, especially with the injury to Richardson, it sounds like it's not that serious. I'm absolutely taking whatever I can get for Daniel Jones. I think he may have a little bit of a value spike here as people worry about Jones and injuries again. If I have Richardson, I'm waiting until I'm expecting him to eventually win the job. I'm not going to sell him until he's named the starter. I think you can get 2 seconds plus for Richardson at that point, which is probably fair. I mean, honestly, at its best, I would describe these two quarterbacks as they would have high fantasy ceilings, dueling it out for control of an offense surrounded by young talent. The winner gets to hand off to Jonathan Taylor. They get to throw to Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren, Adonai Mitchell, Alec Pierce. Like, they're good options. Unfortunately, that's not who they are all the time. These are not two high ceiling fantasy quarterbacks that are consistently putting up numbers. It's like you might see a spike game every once in a while, and you're just as likely to get single digits. So the only problem, is at its worst, this whole situation reminds me of the old South Park episode where they had to vote for a new mascot. Do you want the turd sandwich or do you want the giant douche? There's not a win-win situation here. This is a lose-lose. Hopefully everybody, is usable in fantasy on the Colts. I'm really hoping this competition doesn't tank the value of their other skill players. But yeah, Justin, if you're watching, I am sorry. The Colts QB situation is not good.
You know what they say. If you have a quarterback competition, you don't have a quarterback.
Very true. All right, guys. Well, we are hitting our half-hour mark here. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Make sure to catch us next week. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to hit us up on Blue Sky. I am at FF Philosopher. Tim, where can they reach you?
I am also on Blue Sky, just at Tim Holstad. We are both in the Discord as well. If you want the link to that, definitely hit us up. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, have a good week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.